Welcome to Living Grounded, Village's weekly Q&A, where you can ask anonymous questions about God, the Bible, life with Jesus, and all things in between. Hello and welcome to Living Grounded. This is episode 2. I'm Ella, I'm here with Tim. Today we're going to be talking about heaven, Lent, and generational differences. If you weren't here on Sunday, we kicked off our new series in the book of Matthew, looking at can we trust the author and his claim that Jesus is the Messiah, who has all authority over all people, and that we should obey all that he says all the time. So if you missed that, I encourage you to have a listen in the app. Our first question today is, what is the distinction between the new heavens and the new earth mentioned in Revelation and the heaven that God dwells in now? And after dying, do we sleep until we go to heaven? Or is there some kind of transitioning stage? Or will Jesus be with us as soon as we die?
Yeah, good one. Sorry, I'm still regretting my long thumbs up at the start. It's just still messing with my head. All right, let's get into the question that'll help me. Great question. Really helpful. I think a lot of us think about. Well, no, you know what? To be honest, I don't think we know. I don't think we think enough about what happens when we die. I think whether you're watching, you call yourself Christian or not, I think it'd be a really good thing to think more about this. So good on you who wrote this question. You're obviously thinking about the right thing. So let's just tackle this, I guess, all in one. So I think this is you got to take a whole lot of biblical data, Old Testament, New Testament stuff to kind of put this together. I'm going to give you the really basic summary. I think kind of the key passage for understanding the answer to this question is when Jesus is on the cross and he says to the guy next to him, the guy next to him says, "Hey, remember me when you come into your kingdom," or whatever. And Jesus says, "Hey, today you'll be with me in paradise." And I think we need to hold on to that Jesus isn't using today, he's using today in a literal sense. And so I think from that, you put together all the other data, you've got some other things. Paul, the apostle, says, I don't know where I'd rather be. I long to be with, I long to remain here on the earth in Philippians 2, but I also long to be with Christ. And he's talking about dying. And I think the sense is that he sees that he would be immediately with Christ in death. But then, of course, we have 1 Corinthians 15 and Revelation 21 that speak of a new heavens and a new earth. Obviously, people who died, say, yesterday, they're not in a new heavens and a new earth because the old remains. So here is my summation. I don't believe there is what is sometimes called a sleep. I also don't believe, and I think it's totally unbiblical to talk about the idea of a purgatory, okay, where you need to, in Roman Catholic thinking, where you need to make up for your sins on earth to eventually earn heaven and so on. Instead, believers, and let's be clear about that, let's start with believers. So believers, upon death, are immediately with Christ in a spiritual realm that we often call heaven. That is where God is. It is an invisible place. It is not a physical realm. But you're with Christ and you are in a form of, we can call it bliss or something like that. Eventually, at the appointed time, Christ will return and lead those who are with him into a new creation, and giving people also a new body that will not just mirror what was in the beginning of Genesis 1 of a place that was very good, a new creation that is very good, but even greater, something that we will inhabit for eternity. Now, beyond exactly those things, all I would say is imagine all the amazing things of this earth, and then imagine being able to explore it, but for eternity and even better. I don't see any problem with thinking things like we'll be able to explore the stars. You know, like all these sorts of things. Why not? If you can go to the moon now, I don't think it's a terrible thing to think in those ways, because it helps us understand, well, won't it be great? So yeah, I think that covers most of it, doesn't it?
When you said like people now who've died, you haven't seen the new earth, that hasn't all happened yet, but they will be in heaven.
Yes.
Are you saying they won't have a new body yet?
No, so right now, until the new creation, they do not have a new body.
What?
Yes. So currently they are spirit, but not body.
Okay.
But then in the new creation, they'll be given a new body. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
Now, how exactly that works, a little bit of mystery there, but not huge amounts of mystery either.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Our second question came through the phone. Should Christians practice Lent? Do we at Village as a church? Will we soon?
Yeah,
it's coming up soon.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So announcing today. No. So look, just for those who maybe never heard of it, Lent is a traditional practice. You can kind of call it Roman Catholic, but you know, you could almost go, no, it goes beyond that. 40 days before Easter, a kind of preparation period, a time of reflection, fasting, prayer, so on, that kind of prepares your heart for Easter. And look, you know, I can see why people might be attracted to Lent today. We live in a fast-paced world. Feels like we need things to help us slow down and focus, and that's a good thing. I guess I would go, I won't, you know, I don't think Lent is something that we will practice as a church as such, even as I wouldn't necessarily be against individual Christians practicing it within Village. I would just ask a question, which is why? Why are you doing it? If you are doing it because it's, say, traditional for you, that it's something your family's done, most likely it's a throwback from some sort of Roman Catholic tradition for you. I would go, look, reflect on that. Don't do it simply for the sake of tradition. If, however, you are like, look, it just, for me, for me and my family, or something along those lines, it's just a helpful thing that points us to Jesus in a time, helps us slow down, helps us to commit to fasting and prayer and so on. I go, great. How could that be a bad thing? Wonderful. Do that. Just don't do it as a legalism. I must practice Lent and I must do it this way. Do it because those are good things to do, and see that you don't have to do it 40 days before Easter. You can kind of do that stuff anytime. The wonder of being a Protestant. And not being under the law. So those things almost always helpful. Yep. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, great.
Oh, and maybe just the last little bit, there's the meat factor in there as well. That bit I'm very hesitant on, because I really don't like fish very much, and it doesn't help me focus on the Lord. It takes my love away. No, look, I guess I would just go, look, there's nothing in the Bible about not eating certain foods. In fact, the whole point is that all of these things are now, Jesus reveals to Peter, there is nothing unclean. And yeah, I don't get it. By all means, if there is something that you absolutely love, that you want to fast in honor to Jesus, to help you reflect on the hope, maybe to draw on our last question, I look forward to the new creation where I won't have to think about this sort of stuff, by all means. But don't not eat red meat because of some religious legalism. You don't need to. That's not helpful. That's not freedom. That would be my encouragement.
That's good. Our last question is, how do we speak into hyper-individualism and how do we contextualize the gospel in a world that doesn't know the basics like they once used to? How do we talk to people with different attitudes to work as well?
Yes. Ooh. All right. I mean, that sounds like there's 3 questions. So let's kind of break that down. There's hyper-individualism. How do we engage with that, speak into that? Then there's how do we contextualize the gospel when the world doesn't know the basics? And how do we talk to people with different attitudes of work? And obviously they're interconnected, but let's deal with them quickly, separately. How do we speak into hyper-individualism? Well, I think the first thing is to help people recognize, that that is the air that we breathe. Remember, people don't think about the fact that you're breathing in oxygen right now. It is. And so for a lot of people, they don't realize that this is quite a significant shift. And I think for Christians, just to speak to Christians for a moment on this, it really is worth realizing how different that is to how the biblical culture thinks. Ephesians is a great place to pick this up and to realize this. At the beginning of Ephesians, like so many of Paul's letters, who is it written to? Paul doesn't say at the beginning of Ephesians, he doesn't say to each individual in the church in Ephesus. He says to God's holy people, collective. He says it to a group of people. That's who it's first written to. Now that then has then you can go, what does it look like for me as an individual within this collective? But the language through Ephesians and pretty much the whole Bible is mostly us, we, you, all. Because it's seen as to the church, group, collective, as opposed to firstly individuals. Even you can go so far as to say things like election. We talk about, we've been elected. No, the church, God's people are the elect, the people who've been elected, and we're just a part of it. We're individuals within that. So that's important to just see. Here's like one little avenue, okay? One thing that we really love, I think, in the modern world is we love cultures who seem to be more collective. So we think of, say, American Indian cultures or African tribes, even the indigenous people of Australia. We kind of go, wasn't that a better time? Don't they seem to be more in harmony? Well, guess what? They were cultures that basically said there is no such thing as the individual. There is only the tribe or the nation or whatever you want to call it. And your individual desires and so on, they are as important as the desires of it or needs of our collective. So I think it's just really worth seeing that one of the things we actually seem to long for today is a time where individualism was less, or places where it was less. There's just one little inroad of how we speak to hyper-individualism, with I guess the question to always ask, what if actually humans are happier and do better when they give up some of their individualness and individual needs for the sake of a greater collective good? What if that's actually when we do better in life? And I think the evidence is that that's true. Okay, so that's the hyper-individualism. What's the next? So how do we contextualize the gospel for those who don't know the basics? Look, I guess let me draw on some of Jesus' words. This is John 13. Jesus says that they will know you through your love for one another. I think that has always been true, but I think more and more this is going to be super true for our time. That as, for instance, our culture goes and really leans into the hyper-individualism and things like that, that as Christians and churches, particularly Christians gathering as His church, as they practice things that look quite different from that, serving one another, deep community, prioritizing the needs of others over their own and so on, that is going to really stand out more than it ever has to an unbelieving community. Before, that was just what everyone did because it was kind of pretty cultural to sacrifice yourself. There were plenty of people who weren't Christian who were sacrificing heaps more than the Christians were. But I think that's going to change. And what's going to happen is that unbelieving community is going to be drawn to the light in a far greater way as, I say this gently, but as the culture becomes a bit darker, the light will shine a bit lighter. What that will then mean is that they will be drawn to what is different about you guys. And this is where I think the best news is about not knowing the basics, okay? Here was the problem. Previous generation thought they knew the basics, but didn't actually. And so when it came to time of going, hey, let me explain to you sin and Jesus and what he's done for us on the cross, all these sort of things, they said in their heart of hearts and heads that, oh, well, I heard this in Sunday school. I already know this. But they didn't know it. They just thought they knew it, and it was an easy way to kind of push it off. Here's the really good news. The generations that are coming through who don't know the basics are actually better off for it. You know, it's harder to unlearn something and relearn and then learn it than it is to have a blank slate. And that's kind of what's happening. And they're going, oh, what is the whole Jesus thing about? I mean, what in the world what does it mean? What is this idea of, you know, we're not good, we're sinners and all this? They come at it with a much actually softer heart, I think, than generations before who thought they already knew it. So there's the good news about, I think, contextualizing the gospel. They'll come interested and intrigued. Last one. All right, we're good?
Yeah.
All right, how do we talk to people with different attitudes to work? Yeah, this is a real hard one, okay? So we're talking about generational differences, particularly perhaps employers, employees who have very different attitudes to work because of, and I guess this question's coming out of our State of the Village sermon where we're seeing such a significant world view shift, and that causes grating. You know, I think a lot of people have seen the Lamb ad, you know, or that really highlights some of these things. All right, let me quickly give you some thoughts as to how to do this. What are you ongoingly trying to do in every sort of gender difference if you're a loving Christian? First of all, you always want to start with yourself. The mistake that generations always make is going, ours was the golden age, and the next one, ugh. Guess what, young people? You're going to do this too. In 20, 30 years, you're going to go, man, these young people growing up.
And we do it to the older.
You're doing it to the boomers, right? Like,
Boomer.
Hey, boomer. So this is just totally standard. The first thing to do is explore your own self and culture and go, well, hang on. What are some of the problems that I'm bringing to this situation? So, for instance, older generations, the reason why younger generations are reacting strongly to places like work is because older generations didn't engage overly wisely with work either. Sometimes they overworked. Sometimes they stayed in jobs that were crushing them and killing them. Sometimes they sacrificed themselves so badly with work that it actually hurt their families and other things. And so young people are reacting to that. Now, yes, they're probably reacting to it too strongly, but we'll come to that in a moment. The first thing is explore your own generational problems, weaknesses, and so on. The second thing is to go and understand some of theirs. So like I said, the pendulum's probably swung too far. This is a generation that is being told that actually the most important thing for your happiness is, well, a couple of things is, first of all, to go with your feelings. So rather than before, go with what might keep things most stable. Previous generation, most stable. Go with what is most sacrificial for the sake of your family or something like that. Now it is, okay, go with what is going to make you feel immediately better. That's the best thing. And let me add another one to that. Also, we're being trained, and young people are being trained particularly, new is always better. So why so much job changing? It's actually, like it's the same as the iPhone thing. The iPhone 13 is always going to be better than the iPhone 10, right? Your new job will definitely be better than the old one. And that's like hardwired in now, regardless of the fact that it may not actually be true or necessary. You don't need an iPhone 13. Your iPhone 10 still works fine, and actually you're pretty content with it. No, need a new one. So you understanding these things is helpful for going, okay, that's what's going on for them. That isn't necessarily fully their fault. It's just the air that they breathe again. It's what the water they're swimming in. So you come, you understand these things, and I think that's at the point where you can start helpfully asking some questions. So, for instance, if I had a young employee that had a very different work attitude, ethic to me, I think what I'd want to do is go, I want to understand what's going on there for you. Or maybe their attitude to work in terms of they've been in the job for 2 years and they already want to leave and change jobs. I'd want to ask some questions. Why do you think this would be a helpful thing for you? Why do you think that this is the thing that's going to make you happy? You want to probe those things and see whether they actually have been thought out, or whether it is actually just this impulse like, no, my situation is hard, I need to get out, I'm not real happy, I need to change, I need something new. And you can ask things like, how confident can you be that, this change that you're looking for is actually going to bring you the happiness that you think it will? That's some examples. One good thing is, I think one positive, younger generations seem to be much more open to the idea of having mentors. I'm hearing that word a lot. Now, and I'll speak to you young guys particularly here, you need to be a little bit careful, because I'm also hearing that when you say, I would like a mentor, what you seem to also be saying is, I want someone who's going to affirm the things that I do all the time. So that's not a mentor. That's kind of like a toy that just claps at you the whole time. But the good thing is you want a mentor, and I think young workers, there's an opportunity there for older workers to go, hey, I'm really happy to mentor you. But I think an important thing to state right from the start is, is this what do you just want someone who affirms every single decision that you make, even if I think they're bad ones? Or do you actually want someone who speaks the truth in love and so on into your situation? Because I think there's opportunities and open opportunities to then ask those questions, probe a little bit deeper and go, hey, could it be possible that some of the decisions you're making are actually going to lead to your unhappiness rather than happiness, which, is what we're being trained to make the ultimate goal. Could it be that actually being more stable in life, staying at a job, for instance, that maybe isn't as exciting as a new one, but is actually, you know what you're doing and it's quite good, could that actually lead to a deeper contentedness and satisfaction in the longer term than hopping from this to this to this to this? Is there maybe little things we can change within your job role to make it more interesting or joyful to you? Things along those lines. But again, the number one key is not coming, my work ethic good, you're bad. It's to go, understand, let's ask some questions, let's see if there's a way to get the thing that you want, but maybe through a wiser course. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. I really resonate with all of those things.
I was trying not to make that about you. I'm very aware that Ella is is a young employee of mine.
I'm hearing you too.
Her work ethic is, I'm using the thumbs up, hang up again.
It's a boomer thing.
I'm a long way from a boomer, thank you. Am I?
Yeah.
Am I?
Anyway. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Hope there's some good things in there to be wrestling with and be challenged by too. Feel free, continue to send in your questions. You can send them to the Village phone or through our website. We've got a form on there as well. Tim, are there any things coming up this week?
So this Sunday we'll look at Matthew's genealogy. What does it mean? Why are all these names? And what does it matter for us today? So that's a good one. Look, just continue to encourage you, if you haven't already, register for church camp, register for marriage course, get in on those things. And see you Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, great. Have a good week. See ya.
Ciao.